This is not a surprise. The White House is still struggling trying to find a plan to help that would help out the U.S. farmers. The White House officials are scrambling to come up with a new bailout plan to placate furious farmers after 45's initial idea of donating unused crops to poor countries came under scrutiny. People briefed on the planning said, amid intense political pressure from Senate Republicans, White House officials are eyeing different ways to advance funds to agricultural companies that have complained that they're being caught in the middle of the escalating trade battle with China. Um, Senate Finance Committee Chairman Charles Grassley, who's a Republican of Iowa, said he planned to write a letter to 45 to explain the concerns of farmers because he felt the argument he had repeatedly made to the squatter in person was not registering, and it still isn't. I'm not sure if you talk to him face to face, he hears everything you say. Probably because he ignores it because 45 thinks he knows everything. Said Grassley, who has emerged as one of 45's chief critics on the administration's trade approach in recent weeks. Pressed for details of the plan on Monday, 45 told reporters it's being devised right now. No, it's not advocacy. 45 wrote on Twitter that farmers would be one of the biggest beneficiaries of his trade policies. No, they would not. He said that he said that that would come either from China buying more U.S. products or the U.S. government making up the difference. One idea under consideration would be an expansion of bailout funds from the Commodity Credit Corporation, a division of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. 45 already directed that the USDA pay out $12 billion to farmers last year who said they were rapidly losing funds because of new import penalties from China. But China signaled Monday that it plans to dramatically increase its restrictions in retaliation for tariffs that 45 has imposed on Beijing. Senator John Hoeven, who's a Republican of North Dakota, who chairs the Agriculture Appropriations Subcommittee, said U.S. officials would use a type of market facilitation payment, but also make direct purchases on behalf of the government from U.S. producers. He did not specify how much money would be directed to these initiatives, but he said some of it would be paid for with the money that the Treasury Department brings in through tariffs on Chinese imports. White House officials said Senate Republicans are looking for new ideas because many farmers are growing increasingly anxious as the trade war with China enters a second year. Soybean farmers in particular have been hit hard, but pork producers have also said they're experiencing an impact. Other groups, including cherry producers, have said their businesses are suffering immensely. 45 has long promised farmers that the trade deal with China would lead to enormous benefits for U.S., which it probably won't. Agriculture companies, and he's even tried to negotiate direct purchases of U.S. products from the Chinese government. But when broader trade talks faltered last week and 45 slapped 25% tariffs on $200 billion in Chinese goods, China immediately moved back and retaliated, and a number of U.S. farm products will be impacted. China is one of the biggest markets for U.S. farm exports, and a shift in demand can leave many farmers without alternatives. Hoeven said that there was a chance that White House officials could attempt to purchase U.S. farm products and then give them to poor countries. A similar program was established under the Food for Peace Act. But government officials have found that these programs are very difficult to administer, in part because it can be hard to move crops on a larger scale to poor countries efficiently. There are also concerns that dumping large amounts of crops can disrupt the local farming infrastructure, and some poor countries do not need certain crops that could be in abundance in the United States, such as soybeans. In addition, Grassley said that there are strict limits on how U.S. officials could simply donate food to poor countries. He said the way 45 has discussed it could violate the World Trade Organization rules. It's fair to say that I want to point out that there's problems with what he's planning to do, and he ought to take those into consideration. Well, 45 is not going to take them into consideration because he thinks he fucking knows everything. Grassley says, speaking to reporters Monday, 45 mentioned how he planned to give assistance to farmers, but he did not specify what he was talking about. He estimated that the total aid package would be around $15 billion, which would come in addition to the $12 billion the White House gave farmers last year. They'll be planting, he said, they'll be able to sell for less and they'll make the same kind of money until such time as it's all straightened out. So our farmers will be very happy. Right now, they're not.